Good morning and welcome to the 2021 edition of the Citi Business Festival. My name is Jifa Ekia Ametam and I'm your moderator this morning. We've divided the month of June into 5 parts. So the first week of June, we'll be looking at the digital economy. Next week, we'll be looking at MSMEs. The following week, we'll be looking at agribusiness. If there's one thing COVID taught us is that there's a lot of opportunities within the agri space that we need to take full advantage of. And then the following week, after we've looked at digital economy, after we've looked at agriculture, after we've looked at small and medium-sized businesses, then we talk about trade and AFTA. And then finally, we'll look at oil and gas. And we want to hear from you throughout the conversation. Please use the hashtag Citi Business Festival for us to hear from you. Today's theme is on the cashless society. How do we grow your businesses and also help you employ people? There's a lot happening in the digital world. We all rely on our phones for products and services. As a business owner, how do you use this information to ensure that when customers come onto your platform, they are able to pay for the services that you're offering and the products that you have in a seamless manner? We'll go for a quick break and then I'll introduce our guest.
Whoever you're doing it for, we'll help you get it done. Simply. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Welcome back. It's the Citi Business Festival. Today's theme that we're looking at is the cashless society, opportunities for businesses and employment opportunities. I have been joined by Mr. Ebo Richardson. He is the Chief Enablement Officer of ABSA Bank. Good morning.
Good morning.
I haven't seen you in a year, actually.
Yes, exactly 1 year.
How has the year been like for you?
It's been kind. It's been challenging in some respects, but it's been good because it's also given us an opportunity to improve things and to change the way that things have been working in the past.
Nice. I still also have with me Mr. Romeo Bujay, CEO of IT Consortium. You've been in the space for over 20 years.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Oh, by God's grace, we are doing well and trying to do our best.
Thank you very much for being with us. And Mr. Archie Hesse, CEO of GIPS. Good morning for being with us. And
thank you very much.
Last year you were with us via Zoom.
That's right, yes. Because of the situation, we all found ourselves, and I think the previous year was held at Holiday Inn as well. We're grateful to be invited again.
Thank you for being with us. So I'll start with you, Ebo. When we talk about the cashless economy, when we talk about going cashless, going cash light, what does it mean for Africa and Ghana?
Well, I think, thank you, Jifa, and let me take the opportunity to say good morning again to our viewers. Cash light or cashless, as some say it, the merits of it are well documented the world over, and it's not for nothing that governments the world over want to usher their economies in that direction. And the benefits are clear, they're numerous. I mean, if you take number one, the costs associated with printing, handling cash, etc., goes away. You minimize that significantly if you bring about a cashless economy. Number two, the risks around cash, theft, corruption, even violent crime. All of those you can mitigate because you're dealing more cashless than cash. Then you have the convenience to the consumers. Convenience from the perspective that cashless is fast and efficient, so therefore you can sit in your house and place orders, make payments, and that improves your experience. You have then things like employment, which I think we're also focusing on today. The fact that we create more employment, and different types of employment, through this mechanism. What I particularly like about this movement, if I can call it that, Jifa, is the formalization. Once you start introducing cashless, you're going through technology platforms, and that creates an audit trail, a digital trail of transactions, etc. Create that formalization, which can help planning, resource allocation, reduction in fraud, corruption, etc. So I think it's the right direction of travel, in my opinion, and I think that we need to take to it and drive it through and make sure that it benefits our country.
Thank you. Now, Romeo, when we talk about, cashless societies today, people throw around buzzwords like fintech, cashlight, the whole digital economy. You started 20 years ago when schools were still trying to figure out how to receive payments from parents. What made you decide that you're going to help businesses do this in a more seamless manner?
Thank you, Jifa. I think I always say that the IT consortium story is such that it happened because we needed to solve a problem. We started actually building enterprise systems for the universities. And then in order to solve their payment problem, we came up with a system that really, it was just thought through by us, thinking that you don't have consistent power, you don't have data, you don't have people with devices to do it. So how do you solve this problem? And it was by that we came up with what we initially thought it was a distributed system, but eventually became the cloud service system. So in order to solve that problem, we came up with a system we call the TransFlow that allows seamless data from the school to the banks. Those days, if you want to pay, you go to the bank and pay into a bank account. And if you are not a customer of the bank, then you cannot be serviced. But we allowed the population to go to the banking hall so that they can pay. And when they pay, to make it seamless, we transmitted this data into the core system of the universities that allow them to give service to the students. And by that, the same model then could be used in doing other things, restaurant, whatever you want to do. So as the infrastructure started evolving, becoming more solid, then it became very seamless. Then mobile money came. The mobile money came and turned it in a different direction. And I remember when we were called to say, what can you do? We said, okay, 3 companies came together. Okay, go solve your problem. Everybody take your cost. If it works, hooray. If it doesn't work, we take our cost. And thank God it worked. And now we have a lot of people coming to this place. And now there are ways for it. Because when we started, there was nothing like fintech kind of thing. All we knew that we were just doing something and trying to solve problems, and solving one problem after the other has brought us this far. And we are very grateful to the infrastructure that has been built and is being built to make our work easier and seamless. So that is how it has been.
It's been 20 years.
Yes, 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations. We have 2 more entrepreneurs who will be joining us later. Irabana from Where Ghana, as well as Hannah Kwashi from Wave Africa. But Mr. Archie, GIPS has been around for 14 years.
That's right,
Banks
yes.
can't thrive, the private sector can't thrive without the proper infrastructure. So what have you been doing in the last 14 years to make it easy for these stakeholders to really thrive in the country?
Good morning, Jifa, once again. Exactly what you said. GIPS started 2007, sometime in May. That's when it was incorporated. And at that time, the central bank felt the time had come for Ghana to actually leapfrog and look at the central systems that are needed to facilitate payment systems. Before then, most of the financial institutions were working independently, and we had also a very large unbanked. So there was a need for the center to hold. So the central bank realized that, one, we did not have a vehicle that would address the unbanked in the country. That was when they introduced the e-switch, as you remember, and also realized that there was a need to modernize the check clearing system. Before then, it was taking how long? 7 days to clear checks if you are within Greater Accra region, and maybe 2-3 weeks for inter-regional checks to be cleared. As we speak now, checks are being cleared same day and next day. So we've modernized the check clearing system. Then we introduced the automated clearing house for bulk salary payments. Before then, if you are paid as an employee and if you don't belong to your bank, the bank of your employer, you might receive your salaries about 2 or 3 days later. As we speak, we all receive our salaries at the same time, irrespective of the bank that you are with. We modernized the automated clearinghouse, and we also decided that, look, that we had international scheme cards in the country, which you and I know the costs associated with it. So Gibbs was tasked again to come up with our own homegrown GH-Link card. But we were mindful of the fact that the clearinghouse started from payment system started from the clearinghouse environment, then it moved into the cards environment. And today we have what we call the real-time or the instant environment. So we also had to up our game and make sure that we play in that space. Without using jargons, in the real-time environment, you have products and services like the account to account. You'll be able to effect transactions. I can send you money instantly using either my phone, via my bank's mobile app, or the SMS. And it's cheap. So what we realized that payments was changing from the cards environment that was expensive because you needed a card, an ATM, and a POS, to the real time, which was fast and mimics what real time really requires, but something very cost effective as well. And then came mobile money that sprang up in our part of the world. It's important to note that mobile money really is not needed in jurisdictions where it's heavily banked. It's because most of the individuals in our section of the economy who might not be able to meet the KYC, that's the know your customer, before they are able to be given a bank account. That's why the whole idea of mobile money came about. And we realized that the unbanked will not be able to transact among themselves only. There's a need for us to interconnect all of them. So as part of our mandate to be at the center and ensure that the whole ecosystem is working, we introduced the mobile money interoperability as well, and then the QR code, etc., etc. So we have been in the business of ensuring that all the necessary products and services that are needed for within the ecosystem holds, and then the fintechs, the banks, and the mobile money entities can then serve individuals, the government, as well as corporates in the country. And if I look at the journey 14 years now on, I think we have, as we speak, we have enough products and services than any other country I know exists in the world. Over the weekend, I was reading about the race to become cashless. And I think there was an article, and I heard Canada was leading, followed by, I think, Australia, then Sweden. And if you look at what they were using debit cards and credit cards. Now we have them, and we have mobile money, and we have so many others. So I believe that when it comes to the infrastructure, we have it. What is needed now is for us to create more awareness, look at different use cases, and have entities like our fintechs and government embracing the system and using it.
So speaking of embracing it and using it, Romeo, I want you to let us know how difficult it was to serve your clients before Gibbs came into the system, so that us young folks can really put things into perspective.
Yes. I mean, okay, let me give an example. I mean, as a company, I'm serving a client. Let me use maybe an entity Y, and that entity's bank is A. So I have a system that is connected to their core banking application. For me to be able to do anything, I have to be allowed to do that. And it takes a lot of talk to be able to get that one done. Then I want to be able to, that allows me to be able to push money in. but getting customers to take their money out to be able to buy for goods and service will take another year or two to do that negotiation. But that will be in a silo. If I want to move the money to another bank, if I really want to do it, so this is what will happen. I have to have an account in all the banks and then do my own settlement and make sure that I have my own security and make sure that I've talked to all these banks and convince my merchant that, oh, I'll be able to do that, so give me your business. And by the time you finish one business, a year has passed.
Wow.
Yes. And sometimes you just keep going on and on and on. But if we have a central system, all I need to do is to connect to that central system. That central system has taken care of all the things that I need to do to be able to serve my customers. And with one integration, I'm able to hit all the telcos, I'm able to hit all the banks, and I'm able to push money wherever I want to and get money from my clients. And so infrastructure, centralized infrastructure, is so important, and interoperability is very, very key to whatever we want to do, whatever we want to achieve. When I doing business in Ghana, what people don't realize, yes, we have issues, but doing technology business in terms of fintech, I think is becoming more easier in this country than in most countries, especially in Africa, because most of these countries are still running in silos. So when you go there, you can only deal with a bank or deal with a telco, or have to go through the same process that we went through maybe beginning of 2000, because that was what we were doing. And so when people don't understand when we say we've been around for that long, it is because for all these banks, we had contracts with them. And each contract might be different because this bank might see things differently from this one. But when you have a central system that you can plug into, it makes work so easy and then allows us to think, because we are in the business of thinking about new solutions and getting people to use it in a very friendly manner.
So you've helped us understand what it was like back in the day. Irabina from Where Ghana is with us. She's the CEO. I mentioned earlier that Hannah Kwashi was also going to be with us. And there's a surprise guest here with us. I'm talking about Augustine Blake. He's the secretary to the vice president. So Augustine, let me start with you. How important is it to the vice president that the nation focuses on adding the digital and technology to the solutions that we're finding to solve some of the problems in the country?
Thank you, Jifa, and thank you for the audience and the opportunity to speak to you. Of course, it's very, very important as you listen to Romeo and Archibald and others explain the difficulties that existed before. Establishing a central infrastructure is critical, and that's what the government is supposed to do to create an enabling environment that allow the private sector to thrive. So key to this for the vice president is the financial inclusion and the formalization of the economy. He spoke about it earlier before 2016, and when we came in there in 2017, a lot of activities have taken place. Key to that is the mobile money interoperability that I actually talked about. But foundationally, what you're looking at when you talk about financial inclusion, we are talking about access to finance, access to credit, and a lot of our transactions in the economy occur in the informal sector. So as these transactions are occurring, the actors of these transactions have no way of establishing credit, and also having access to cheap credit to grow their businesses. So the digitization provides the formalization and also provide the inclusion that allow the economic actors to then have access to money to grow their businesses. So this is where the vice president is going. Formalize, include more people, and make it easy for them to have access to money, cheap money, of course, to grow their business.
Thank you for sharing those with us, Augustine. And Rabina, let me start with you because you are in the fashion space where Ghana is a very popular brand. Everyone knows it in Ghana and also, of course, across the continent. How did you use the digital economy to reach your clients, and how easy was it for you to receive cash without necessarily physically meeting your customers?
So first, thanks for having me. The cashless solutions that are currently available have made it possible for us to expand the markets that we serve. Whereas in the past, like you alluded to, you would have to meet someone in person, or for example, if I wanted to sell to someone in South Africa or the UK, in the past, the story would be, okay, my sister is coming at such and such a time, and when they get here, they will come and buy. Now that's not necessary at all, because you can shop online from our website or through social media, and then make the payments, and we send to you either through a courier or whichever service you decide to do the business through. And so that has been good in terms of helping us to expand the reach, our reach as a small business. Some of the other opportunities, some of the other advantages that we are enjoying also has to do with how it reduces the incidence of theft. While we are selling through e-commerce, it means that we are not coming into physical contact with our customers, and often we are sending our through delivery companies. Now, in the past, what would happen would be that the dispatch rider would have to collect monies from customers and then either deposit into the bank or bring it physically to us. And there have been some unfortunate incidences where, for some reason, a dispatch rider sometimes right there after collecting the money decides that they no longer want their job and leaves with the money, and then a very long and often unsuccessful process of trying to retrieve the monies from the delivery company. And so the Cashlight solutions have served us really well as a company. And in preparing for this, I've spoken with some colleague entrepreneurs as well, and that's the story for most of us. It's helped us to expand the markets that we are serving.
Thank you, Rabina. Evo, she mentioned a lot of things. Moving money from the UK to Ghana when you're buying something, even they being confident enough to not think that you're a fraudster for taking their money, protecting the interest of the Ghanaian entrepreneur. What role do banks play in all of this?
I think banks have a pivotal role to play. I mean, ultimately, banks have a pivotal role to play in our national economy, in the national economy of every country. But when it comes to, payments and that whole, cashless, then banks are key, because, a lot of the monetary values that now exist across, banks, mobile money operators now, and then, to a lesser extent, some fintechs. So if we're going to move money around, if we're going to do remittances, if we're going to do payments, then the banks have to come into play. And if you take my bank, for instance, pardon me while I refer to us.
Shout out to ABSA. ABSA is I'm going to do a shameless one here. ABSA is the sponsor of the Citi Business Festival, okay? And they have some digital channels available for you that in case I want to dash Romeo some cash, I can just use my phone, click it, and then he will get it instantly. Or if I want to buy Wear Ghana, I can just use ABSA's digital channels, and then I'll be able to do that from wherever I am. So you want to check it out. Go to their website, www.absa.com.gh, and you'll be able to see all the services they have available for you. Please continue.
Thank you very much. So if you take my bank, for instance, what we're doing, obviously, as a bank, we want to walk a journey with our customers, whether they're individual customers or companies. We want to walk a journey and support them by providing the necessary financing. But more than that, we want them to have a great experience, and that great experience more and more is being manifest through this Cashlight sort of digital movement. So we've availed a number of options, and for us, availing all manner of payment options to our customers is key. It's one of the things that will help, whether it's mobile money, whether it's QR code, whether it's, EFT, moving the funds directly, instant pay. We have all of that. And that means that when you're playing with us, you're able to, do all the things that our good lady just talked about, because you're safe, you're operating in a zone that makes your services more efficient, faster, more safe, as we said earlier on. And I think that going forward, that banks will continue to play that pivotal role. Of course, as the landscape changes, it doesn't just become about banks, because as we said, mobile money operators are in there. There is financial inclusion we have to look at, and who is best placed to provide support, for instance, for farmers in the rural areas and things like that. So I think it's an ecosystem that can only get better once some of the pitfalls are also addressed.
Thank you. I'm coming back to you, Romeo, because last year we had COVID. All of a sudden, people saw opportunities on social media to sell products, to offer services. You see the marketing is great, but when you go onto their platform, the process of paying is so difficult that you just get turned off. And as a business owner, if you don't make that sale, you can't grow your business and employ people. How important is it for us to pay crucial attention to the back end of our businesses when it comes to the cashless experience, and what role does IT Consortium play?
Yeah, thank you, Jifa. It's very true. Every time I say that when you are going online, don't just think about having a website somewhere, so it means you are online, because there are back-end systems that support whatever you do. So if your back-end systems are not good, you are going to have problems. Where you keep your software, your back-end system, also is important. Previously, most of us will have some server in our office, and then we are fine. But now you are asking people to make payments and you want to be able to have a feedback from your system to say that I pay this for this goods, and the records are there. So if you don't have a solid back end to be able to support these payments, you are going to have a problem. So normally when you are thinking about going online and be able to receive payments, you have to look at all that. No matter what you do in terms of technology, somebody say the network means not works. I remember when I was young and I had gone to do a presentation somewhere, and when those of you who know 3M, their disk, and then I had to put my things on that disk, and when I got there, this thing won't work.
Oh.
When you press something, boom. So you have to be sure that you've tested it properly, and it gives you what you have to do. And because of the way the country is being built, and with the soft infrastructure, what Archie was talking about, and the regulation that is going on, it also pays to know whom you are connecting to.
Yeah.
Now you cannot just take payment from just any company, but a regulated company, which allows you to be able to have recourse to whatever problem you might run into. So that is why whenever I have the opportunity, I want to talk about the Technology Chamber, which is an association of payments aggregators and fintechs that allows us to be able to also to keep tab on our members, to allow them to be able to do the efficient thing that we want to do. Because like you're saying, if I try it once and it doesn't work, I might be turned off. And it goes against us, one as a company and as a country. And so we want to make sure that the standard is the same wherever you go. The infrastructure is being built. Things are improving. I pray that we get to a point where data will be so cheap in this country that it will allow ordinary people to be able to have access to a lot of the things that we are. And just pardon me to maybe just give an example of one solution. As Gaston Blay was talking, and my mind went to one solution that for me is very dear to my heart. Most of us working in formal space have pension. You don't think about it. Yeah. Once you get employment, you have pension. But majority of us who are doing their own business do not have it. 3-4 years ago, we came up in collaboration with other people with a pension product for the informal. So now my house help has pension. My house help will not go to a brick and mortar to go and fill forms to be able to get it. But that person can within 5 minutes buy pension and begin to contribute. And you'll be amazed how much money is being collected as a result of that. Because now individuals on the street, market women, can have pension. Why? Because of the infrastructure, because of digitization. And if we get more people in this country, for instance, to enroll on such pensions, a product, what will happen is that it lessens the burden on government. It allows much money for investment. And hey, all the money sits with them. No money sits with fintech. No money sits with a mobile money operator. No money sits with him. All the money sits with them. Okay, so then they will be able to give the loans at a cheaper rate because of what we have created, we don't have a lot of cost on it. Yeah. And so they can get cheap funds, be able to invest, and then the economy will grow. Yeah. So it is in our own interest to move this kind of agenda to make sure that every single person in this country, wherever they are, could have access to financial product. If I have a pension and I'm living in my village, okay, and I do transactions for about 6 months, and I go to ABSA and I say that, oh, I have a farm I want to expand. And ABSA say, you don't have any records. I can pick my pension system and say, oh, this is what I've been doing. I have been contributing over 6 months. I take some and I put some in. You can use this. And ABSA will take it because that is records that that person would never have had if it had not been technology on mobile. Yeah.
Interesting point. Yeah.
I like how you've summed the whole thing up so brilliantly. We still have Hannah Kwashi with us, which is really talk to us about moving money from one part of the continent to the other, right? We're all talking about after. But sometimes something as simple as a Nigerian student in Ghana needing money from his or her parents in Nigeria can be so difficult. What are they doing in that space to make sure that the entire process is seamless? When we talk about cashless, it starts from there. This is the Citi Business Festival. We want to hear from you. So if you're watching us on Facebook, just comment down below. If you're on other social media platforms, use the hashtag Citi Business Festival for us to hear from you. You can reach out to me directly via my WhatsApp line 0550-585832. And if you're on Twitter, you can tweet at me at GFACityTV. Of course, this has been sponsored by ABSA Bank. They have a lot of digital channels available for you to use. So if you want to shop those Wear Ghana outfits online, just talk to your ABSA person on their website, www.absa.com.gh, and they'll help you so that you can transfer payments and also buy products and pay for services online. We'll go for a quick break and then we'll be right back.
Whoever you're doing it for, we'll help you get it done. Simply. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
A lawful wedded wife to having to hold from this day forward. I do.
do it. Drama saying a bit my share. I'm a winyaji. For HD Plus, who no feel. My HD Plus, nyanyonko papa palma with HD TV. For star 879 hash for subscribe it. Not try we need to feel say see ya.
Welcome back to the Citi Business Festival. So today is the first edition of the 2021 Business Festival, and we're looking at the cashless ecosystem. How do we leverage it to grow our businesses and also provide employment opportunities for the nation's youth? And obviously, this has been sponsored by APSA and supported by IT Consortium. Now, for all the businesses who are listening to us today, I know it can get a bit technical when you're talking about your back end, cleaning it up so that you don't have issues of me buying your product and complaining about, how difficult it is to pay for it, how difficult it is for you to move it from my bank to your bank. And that's what IT Consortium is here to do. So you don't have to worry about all of that. Just contact them and they'll take care of all of your online payment services for you. They've been doing this for over 20 years, so they're the best people to do it for you. I still have with me Hannah Kwashi, and before the break I did mention that I wanted Hannah to talk about what Wave has been doing in the ecosystem to help us move monies from one country to the other. Good morning, Hannah.
Hi, good morning, Jifa. Good morning to your viewers and good morning to your panelists. I want to first of all touch on what our view of Cashlight is, and that is anything that's better than cash. And when we are talking about something that's better than cash, we are looking at where consumers choose to use a product or service based on convenience, but looking at 6 main attributes: transparency, security, privacy, speed, and timeliness, and better financial management and costs. So those are with those 6 attributes, we stand on those 6 attributes to come up with the various products that we have. When we initially started, we looked at international remittances, but we soon found that it was important to focus on the ecosystem within the various African countries that we were operating in to make it as seamless as possible. Looking at the ecosystem of various African countries, and when you look at it in that space, most African countries, the journey to being cash light for most African countries is the same. So for me, the first phase is where there's a policy shift. And the policy shift happens when the bulk payers in that economy decide to promote a cash light system. So where governments decide to pay salaries into bank accounts, people are not paying cash, where companies that employ a large amount of people are now making payments into bank accounts or into mobile wallets, where distributors are looking at being paid from these technologies that are available. And that is what drives a cash light economy, or for economy to be cashless. And that is what drives our business. So we look at what would make it efficient for us to be in, say, country A. And what would make it efficient is if there is a policy shift. And the policy shift normally happens, at the regulator level, or, at the, where Archie is sitting, the GIPS level. So if there's already the infrastructure there, then that is the place that we want to be, because we want to be in this space because of what reason? And the reason is the phase 2. And the phase 2 is we go into the space to enhance the P2P payments. So that is from Mr. A to Mr. B. So where somebody is able, and that is where the things like the mobile money comes in, where somebody can just simply transfer money from A to B. So that's the P2P, person to person. Then we look at the person to business. This is the P2B. So we are looking at somebody buying an item for Ghana. So they are making a payment, an individual is making a payment to a business. So that's a person to a business. Then we start looking at the P2G, which is the person to a government. So we are looking at our utilities. okay? Because we all use the utilities that the government provides, electricity, water. So these are the things that actually drive a cashless economy, and that is what we build on. We always pride ourselves on being a technology company, not a financial institution. So we work hand in hand with the players like the banks, so the APSAs. We work hand in hand with the technology providers in the country, so the IT consortiums. We work hand in hand with the GIPS because this is the infrastructure on which we build what we provide. So we come into the third phase, which is what the consumer needs, because merely being able to send money from Ama to Kwesi does not end there. This is not how financial services work. Financial services should provide convenience and all the attributes that I mentioned. So just sending money to someone the buck does not stop there. And this is in the phase 3 is where we build our business. And that is where we look at what the consumer needs and make it convenient for the consumer. So can you use your mobile wallet to pay for a product, or you have to go through a whole process before you can make the payment? If the process is long, remember my definition for Cashlight, it should be better than cash. So if the process is an inconvenient process, then it's not serving the purpose. This is how we look at it. So what products can we build to make it easier? NFC cards, which is what, if you go abroad, what they call tap and pay. So where we have NFC readers so that people can actually tap their phone and pay for a product, then this is where we are adding the value. So we are primarily focused on convenience for the consumer. We also look at the P to M, which is the person to a merchant. So where the person can go to a convenience store and easily pay for their goods and services without going through a process which is more inconvenient than reaching for their wallets, then it is a space that we want to make better. Then
Thank you,
look
Hannah.
at B2B, which is business, which is suppliers, people paying for supplies. So
Thank
that is, it is in that space that we grow our business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Archie, the real-time payment by GIPS is doing really well. People are embracing it in its first quarter. Can you tell us what has accounted for this?
I think, as everybody has said, Hannah has alluded to as well, the key thing that Hannah said, if it was better than cash, and if you remember, I said payments has evolved from clearinghouse. So if I want to pay you in the clearinghouse, I would have given you a check, and that would have taken a day or two in today's world. So it takes 2 days before you have access to the money. Or I could use the automated clearinghouse. Same. Or I could use a card. If you have a point of sale, then I'll pay you, and then you might have access to your funds the following day. That's for cards payments. However, if I give you cash, you receive it instantly, won't you? So you prefer the cash. And it's in that regard, why there's a need for us to mimic the cash and make it better. And that's why we now have the real-time payments. So the real-time payments is instant payment. However, it's not physical like cash, but it's electronic. And that's basically what real-time payment is all about. And it's the movement of funds from A to B, or the movement of funds for purchases, or in other instances for remittances. If it happens to be for person to person, it could be from my bank account to your bank account, payments being done instantly. Either me using my USSD or my mobile app. If it happens that that's the account to account. Now, in the ecosystem, we also have wallet account holders. So there might be an instance where I might meet a wallet account holder, and now there's a need for me to transfer funds from my bank account to a wallet account holder instantly, and vice versa, from a wallet account holder to a bank account holder. And that's what the whole real-time payment is all about. Account to account, wallet to account, and wallet to wallet. And that's what we have built. And in the last year or so, if you look at month on month, we've chalked lots of successes. Why has that been the case? Apart from the fact that it's real time and better than cash, the second point too as well, because of COVID, remote payments became the in thing. Cash became something that nobody wants to touch. So all of a sudden, it was as if Ghana was preparing for COVID. So,
but how refreshing was it to finally see the market react in that way?
It was excellent, because whilst other businesses were struggling, our figures were galloping. But the fact that it served a real need in the country was very comforting. And you could see the account-to-account figures, the account-to-wallet, wallet-to-wallet, everything going up the scale. And we realized that, we have the P2P and the account to wallet, etc., but we haven't included the purchases side for real time. Because in the card side, the purchasing side is the point of sale. But for real time is a universal QR code. It was in that regard why the management of the economy and central bank had to force us to fast track and launch it somewhere around in March last year, to make sure that you and I can actually use our real-time, that becomes a real-time merchant acquiring platform. So you can pay with either your bank account or you can pay with your wallet. And because we have mobile app payments as well as USSD payment, there was a need for us to ensure that unlike QR payments in other jurisdictions, we actually incorporated the USSD payment. So when you see the GH Universal QR decal, you see the black and white, and underneath you also see a number, which also represents the black and white pixels. So if you don't have a mobile app to scan and pay, you can actually use your USSD to dial and pay. So we have provided a universal QR code system in the country that can be owned by either a wallet account merchant or a bank account merchant. So you and I can start paying. And very quickly, we rolled it out very hurriedly, and then we all start transacting in real time when it comes to, I think Hannah used P2M or P2M, and that's person to merchant. And it's currently being rolled out. I've seen examples where schools are embracing it now. So a school would go to their bank or their fintech company or their mobile service provider, and a GHQR code will be provided for them. Then you, in the comfort of your home, can either scan and in the narration write, this is Jeffers' school fees for the second term, etc. And then you make payment, and remotely, instantly, the funds will be lodged in the school's account. They will receive, instantly they will receive a notification, and payment has been effected in the comfort of your home. If you happen to be a wallet account holder and use USSD, equally, you know that number, you can dial it, go through the process, GHQR payment. In the narration, once again, Jeffers' school feeding for the second week in March, and off you go. So there are so many use cases. We've seen instances where it's even used at funerals, where in the invitation card, a dedicated wallet account or bank account is open and it's part of the invitation card. So there's no need for you to go and queue and write your names, etc. You just scan, in the narration, you put your name, and off you go, and payments are instant. So that is the area that is, we are seeing loads and loads of tractions. And in the case of my good friend here, as he indicated, it was very, very cumbersome for them. Now, all the businesses that they have to move funds from accounts to wallet and wallet to account, etc., they're just riding it through the real-time payments in the center, and it's seamless for them. The third point that also made it for us was the Payments Advisory Bureau that we have in the country. I think when it comes to payment provisioning in Ghana, we are really there. Apart from the players, even the governance structure that governs it is very, very matured now. The Payments Advisory Bureau decided that let's change our pricing structure such that we move from sender pays to receiver pays. So it means that once upon a time, IT consortium will have to make some payment to use the platform. Now it's free for them. So before you realize, they had some bilateral arrangements and very cumbersome arrangements. They just directed all their traffic through the mobile money interoperability platform to give us headache. But at least we've seen a lot of growth. It's been galloping, and we are very grateful that something that we've come up with something that is really being used in the country. As we strongly believe that as time goes on, there'll be so many use cases, and before you and I realize, that will become the norm. And that is going to be the driver that I believe Ghana will be using to achieve a cashless society.
So you've mentioned a lot of things, but how
Precisely.
transformational have these products been to making the cashless society more inclusive? Because there are people who share concerns that we're leaving people in the informal sector behind. So if you can just tie that into it, we would appreciate it.
Precisely. In order to ensure that we do not leave the informal sector out of it, that's why we have ensured that we do have the mobile money wallet system also incorporated into it. Because as I said earlier on, that in Ghana, we have the banking sector. That's about 30%. 70% is mainly the unbanked because they are not able to meet the KYC required to hold a bank account or either on the personal level or at the merchant level. Now, for that 70%, they opt for the wallet accounts. And as we speak, telco companies are offering the mobile money wallet account system. So they have a vehicle to address the unbanked. As Romeo said, any funds put in a wallet does not sit with a telco, but it sits with the bank. So effectively, what have you done? You have banked the unbanked. The fintechs are also offering mobile money system. I think ZPay is the first to be licensed to offer that service. The banks have also realized that, well, we don't have a vehicle to address the unbanked, so we are also going to start the mobile money system. And G-Money from GCB. So GCB is also offering, and I'm sure the rest will also start follow suitly. Irrespective of what it is, we will have the bank account and the wallet accounts interplaying. And in the case of the remittance as well, before then, when you receive funds from abroad, you are given a code, and then you go to a bank or an agent and you are giving cash. Now remittances are terminated directly into a bank account through the MMI, the mobile money interoperability, or directly into a mobile wallet. And you do not have to redeem the cash now. I know we have agents where they go for cash, but I believe that very soon, when you have all the GHQR codes at every location, because both bank account holders can go for a GHQR code, merchant account, wallet account, mobile money account holders can also go for it, then there's no need for you to redeem cash. You can go and pay directly electronically. So P2P or transfers is electronically, payment is electronically, and the whole system becomes electronic. And basically, the use of cash will no longer be required. And we have migrated in that regard. So the platform to use it is standing. What we are left to do is ensure that we have reliability, continuous reliability as we do, and different use cases for it to be used, and education and awareness. That's an area that we really need to focus on, education and awareness.
Thank you very much. And a big good morning to our viewers who are joining us via Zoom. We will take all of your questions, so keep sending them. The hashtag again is Citi Business Festival. If you're watching us on Facebook, just comment down below. And our WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. But my next question is to you. I'm not that old yet. I'm still in my late 20s, but I rely on my phone for everything. And actually, 60% of the population in Ghana is actually younger than I am. When we talk about the digital world, when you talk about going cashless, how important is it for us to also talk about the potential threat of a cyber attack and all these fraudulent things that we need to worry about in the digital world?
Jifra, thank you. I think it's very important, because I think if we allow some of these, and I alluded to earlier by saying the pitfalls, to get ahead and to sort of control the space, then the experience will be mad and we'll start to retrogress rather than go forward, as we've all been talking about this session. And so I think it's important that all the players look at what it takes, not only to mitigate and minimize fraud, but also to deal with the cancer of cyber threats and those things that are, often rear their ugly head. It's just a reality of life. Once you start to move more in the technology direction, once you start to, realize more digital sort of, realm behaviors, etc., you also, become exposed to the threats and the risks that come with them. It's just one of those things. And I think we all need to, look at what they are and how we address them. So what do I mean by that? This entire conversation, in my view, can be breaking down to, 3 key blocks. Okay. The infrastructure, the regulation, and then the culture or the practice. The infrastructure is, what, we've talked about Gibbs, we've talked about the center, created the exchange. All the players are connected, but all the players are also part of the infrastructure. The fact that telecoms companies put masts up and down the country so that we can all get a signal and, use data, etc., is part of the infrastructure. Now, that infrastructure has come a long way in a number of years. As Archie and Romeo have both said, it's come a long way, and now we're in a good place. It can get better. There are still things, Archie alluded to reliability, continuous reliability. There are things that we need to do to make sure that that resilience is there and will be there, as we move into the future. Then you talk about regulation. The last few years, the regulation has really caught up. Before, there was nothing to speak of,
especially with the fintech owners out there.
Exactly. Vis-a-vis mobile money and things like that, fintechs, it was a kind of a greenfield. Now it's catching up. Mm-hmm. So that coming together, and then the final leg, which for me is cultural practice, is, Archie said, education and awareness. How do we get people to realize, where these things are going, what the benefits are, how it will improve their lives and their experiences? How do we address their fears? Because a lot of people still have, the fears of technology, thinking, what's there? I'd rather deal with a human being. How do we address all of that? Now, in addressing all of that, we need to secure all of that. So the banks, for instance, need to step up their game in terms of, ensuring that their infrastructure is well controlled, their controls are effective, but they also demonstrate high levels of security. ABSA, for instance, we've become ISO certified, ISO 27001 certified, which means, we can put ourselves up as one of the beacons in the country from a security perspective.
Nice.
We're going PCI DSS. I believe a number of the other banks, if they haven't already done so, will also do so. The exchange, Gibbs, also need to make sure that, they're secure, that they have the right levers, resilience is in place. So everybody needs to play their part, because it becomes what I will call a critical national infrastructure. Yeah. This is key to how the country will run and how our consumers will be able to transact, etc. And then the final leg for me would be that education and awareness piece. Yeah. I think that in a lot of things, in a lot of situations where you have infrastructure, rules, etc., and people coming together, the people leg tends to be the weakest, and if we don't address that, then we will allow a lot of human beings to be ensnared by dubious and criminal elements, which we really want to to avoid. So I think that is what needs to be done across the piece. Everybody needs to play their role. Everybody needs to up their game, like ABSA has done.
And that's why it makes it easy. No, seriously, it makes it easier for e-commerce merchants and other people online to just tap into your system and just relax and know that they are fine.
Absolutely.
If there's a threat somewhere, you just notice it before they do. So
but it's like a chain.
Yeah.
You're only as strong as the weakest link. Yeah. So even if ABSA is strong, but some other player in the ecosystem is weak, that may be where your consumers will fall foul. Yeah. So we need to work across the piece, and I believe that the way that the Bank of Ghana is going, their focus on fintechs, creating the sandbox, etc., will help drive things in that direction, and I believe that eventually will mitigate sufficiently so that all of you, Jifai, will all be happy to come on board and play.
I am really happy to get on board, and speaking of getting on board, good morning again to our viewers via Zoom. I see all of you. I'm waving, wave back. We'll get all of your messages soon, and I'll ask them. If you have not yet sent your messages, just use the hashtag Citi Business Festival for us to hear from you. My WhatsApp line is 0550585832. If you are on Twitter, just tweet at me at GFACityTV. So as you can see here, APSA is just making it easy for us as consumers. If we go online and we want to buy something, you don't have to stress yourself out calling the person, doing this. Just click, 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 and then you're done. If you have a friend who's celebrating their birthday and you want to shoot them some quick Momo, you just use the APSA digital channels and you're done. And then IT consortium comes in on the back end. So if you're a business owner and you don't know what happens when you have to take money from the person, how to ensure that their bank accounts will be secured, how to ensure that all the data that's coming to your back end is protected, they take care of all of that for you so that you just focus on growing your businesses. So we are not just talking about, the cashless ecosystem. We're also providing solutions for you so that post this conversation, if you want to start your business, if you already have a business that's brick and mortar that's looking to go online, you can just contact IT Consortium and tell them, how do you take care of my back end for me, so that when Jifa comes to my website, it's the same experience she will get when she walks into my shop. She not only looks at my products and services, she's also able to just check out within 1 minute. If she comes back to my site, she's also able to just check out in a seamless manner. When we talk about customer retention, that's really the key. We're going to go for a quick break. We'll be right back.
Whoever you're doing it for, we'll help you get it done. Simply. That's Africanacity. That's APSA.
Welcome back. It's the Citi Business Festival. This whole week is dedicated to the digital economy. We all have phones. We spend a lot of time on our phones, but how do we ensure that as business owners, we are finding the customers that we need in the digital space? If there's anything that the COVID era taught us, is that billions of people are in the digital world, and irrespective of where you find yourself, if you're able to provide a solution, people will pay for those solutions. And GIBS has been working over the past 14 years to ensure that we have the infrastructure in this country to make that happen. IT Consortium is also working to ensure that our back ends are clean. If we get that customer, they'll be able to pay, and obviously all that monies will end up with APSA, and they have the certification to ensure that it's protected. So when it comes to the cashless society, it really takes a village. Now, one of the things that we talk about a lot in this country, Romeo, is remittances. You have family members abroad. They just bring in money to either pay for funerals, weddings, or build a house that they'll probably never stay in. As we're looking at the cashless society, how do we add value to the monies that are coming in and out of the country?
Thank you very much, Ifan. It is true, international money transfer is really growing. The volumes are growing up, and it's amazing how much money were flowing into this country that nobody knew. Yeah. But what we have seen, I think Hannah talked about the first level of P2P. So I send money to you and you use it. And when you send money to someone, first when you give money to someone to bring, and it never gets to the person. Yeah. Now you send money to someone to pay for the hospital bill, and it actually never gets to the hospital. There's an example of someone who sent money to the spouse to pay for the school fees, and then the money ended up in a business, and the business did not go well. Wow. Then the child was sacked from school, and then the spouse got angry. Then the other one come to the school and say, give me a receipt to prove to my spouse that I have paid. And the school said, no, I can't lie. But what can we do to ensure that we remove that? And that is what ITC we've been pushing at, and we have a solution we call Remit Plus. Remit Plus is actually tied into our biller system, which is called Transflow, that allows people to be able to pay directly to the merchant from outside. And I'm very passionate about pensions. And so we've collaborated with another pension company that allows you to set yourself up to the point that any money you receive from outside, a percentage goes into pension.
Wow.
The same thing will happen, a percentage goes into investment. So as we collaborate with banks for investment, we are not just looking at the money that we save here, but the money that are coming into the country, adding value to it. So if I'm sending money to my parents or my siblings and from outside, I can decide that I want every money I sent, I want 20% to go into investment. And that will be money that the old folk can rely on. Instead of taking all the money in their account or in their wallet, they can just have access to it and use it. But if you have a long-term investment, a term investment, like 2 years or 6 months, then you are creating value. And that is where we try to play, creating value for the user and not just allowing things to go because I can send money from one person to another. How do I use this infrastructure to grow value for the people? So pension is something that we've started, we call it Remit Plus, ordinary investment, hospital payments. It's a big thing because our platform had this billers, hospitals on it that people have been using. But how do we turn that around so that in case somebody wants to pay for the patients in the hospital, it goes directly to the hospital, not to someone to pay for it? I think the next level that we are seeing with cross-border payment as the regulation comes up is what will help. With the example you gave, a Nigerian student in Ghana wants to pay his school fees. The parent doesn't want to give the money to the child because it might not end up in the university or a pocket money to them. Why should it take weeks
for payments to be effective?
For payment to be effective. Yeah. Why can't it be instant? Why is it that I can have money come from US to Ghana instantly, but I can't have money come from Nigeria to Ghana or Ghana to Nigeria? I think the clearing system, and I know Achi and his team are working on it. So as we remove some of these bottlenecks, it will bring the sub-region together. And what we are trying to achieve with one market will be a reality. I mean, we can have a digital money without actually having a fiscal one created. So we just have to be innovative, open our minds, the regulator thinking through, and very soon, I don't need to carry money to Nigeria to do anything, or vice versa. Or I can actually sell my stuff and not have to use international card to make the payment, but use my local card within my country to make it, and the clearing will be seamless. And so we live as one people and not as individuals in different countries.
Wow. Yeah. It's powerful.
It's a massive, big task for us.
Yes, yes.
Archie, there's still a lot to be done.
Yes.
When we look at just the digital economy alone, there's research to show that by 2026, the digital economy alone will be 25% of the global GDP. How do we ensure that Ghana is not just a consumer of that? Because yes, last year my coconut seller was able to bring me coconut water and I pay on mobile money. My watches seller was able to do that. We saw a few things here and there, but on a larger scale, when you look at the TikToks and you look at the Zooms that we're all using, how do we get more innovators within that digital economy?
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. What we've in the approach that we've taken at the central bank and GIPS is to first and foremost ensure that we have modernized the payment systems when it comes to domestic transactions. And I think you have to ask Irabna whether she has a GHQR, at least for her to receive, whether she receives payments domestically by GHQR. That's step number one, and we believe that we are there, except that there's a need for us to deepen our education and awareness, etc., make sure the ecosystem is working. we are slowly, gradually beginning to look at the West African zone. So we've had engagements with our counterparts where we are looking at the possibility of linking the national switches together. We have done that in the past. What we are left to iron out is the inter-country forex. How are we going to handle it? Because typically what happens is that if I have to travel to Nigeria, I will change my cedis to dollars, and then when I get to Nigeria, change from dollars to naira. And if I'm on my way back, if there is any change, I do same. In order to, if we mimic that same process electronically, then there's no need for it. There's a need for us to have an inter-country arrangement where between the naira and the cedi on daily basis we know what the exchange rate is to avoid the use of the international currencies. I know there are so many modes being developed now in that regard. If you look at the Pan-African banks, they are very good at handling the inter-country, so maybe there is a need for us to ride on them. The international scheme cards as well, although on the domestic front we are saying, hey, don't come into our space. When it comes to inter-country transactions, there is a need for us to work together with them to ensure that that becomes a reality. There is also another initiative on the way where the national RCGS, that's the central bank's payment systems, are also being connected together. So it's just a question of time, I believe in about 6 months, if not less, where you will start seeing the efficiency that Romeo was talking about. And the likes of Irabna too will start having inter-country transactions seamlessly using our domestic card. It's very interesting that you should say, why can't we use our domestic card, like the GH Link card, to pay for a service in Nigeria? It's very easy. And we are actually thinking about the fact that we have a number of Pan-African countries in Ghana who are all linked to GIPS. And the banks. And they have branches in every country.
So it should be.
So why can't we ride on that? So that thinking is there, and we've started engaging with them. So that if at the very least, if I travel to Nigeria, I'll be able to use my ATM at specific banks. Specific bank's ATM or point of sale, maybe to pay for my hotel bills or just to withdraw funds. And if I have to make payment for my goods and services, that's a wholesale payment. And then you can use a different instrument for that. So I believe that that's the next phase of GIPS, where we are looking at how can we ensure that we create convenience for Ghanaians when it comes to international payments. And that's what we'll be working on as well.
Yes.
What my good boss has said. I think, the substance of the question you ask goes to two things: inclusivity or inclusion and sustainability. So how do we bring more people into this ecosystem, this space, and then how do we sustain it for the future so that, as you said earlier on, it doesn't sort of fizzle out and fade off. And I think it goes to a lot of the points that we've been discussing already here. And for me, there is an element of self-interest that's apparent with all human beings that we must make sure we don't lose sight of. And that self-interest essentially means that individuals will be asking, what's in it for me? How do I benefit from this? And if that question is not addressed, then you essentially alienate them, you leave them out. So you mentioned, for instance, farmers in rural areas. How do we bring them into this? The infrastructure can be there, it can be all linked up, but if we don't have programs and incentives to pull them in so that they all recognize that this is something we can all benefit from, then essentially it's sort of half-hearted. You're not capturing the full. And I think one of the ways in which we must consider how we do this is employment. I think it's key. I think I read somewhere not too long ago, and I thought it was absolutely fascinating statistic or piece of knowledge, was that starting from the times of Henry Ford, when automation started and then eventually led to technology and digitization, etc., that there was always this idea that once we automate, then people lose jobs, right? And actually the reverse has been true. Wow. 4 times as much employment has been created through, digitization and technology than has been lost. Okay. Right? So I think that, there is a platform here for us to bring everybody in, either, through the fact that they're consumers or through the fact that they're employed, and bring everybody in and take everybody along for the journey. And I think that's the way that we will sustain it.
But Ebo, how do we deal with the real threat of people who may not necessarily have the technical skill locally to match with the innovations that are going on? Because there's a real fear amongst people that as we go digital, they will lose their jobs and we won't have enough people trained locally to take up those other opportunities in the digital space.
That's a reality, and that is part of what we have to deal with. Because I can describe it from an organizational perspective, and then maybe we can extrapolate for the nation as a whole. If you take any organization, any bank, any manufacturing company, there is pressure to digitize, to sort of transform. When we the buzzword is digital transformation, right? And that digital transformation means you have to start using and leveraging these digital technologies, and it might even change your entire business model. Yeah. However, you can't do that effectively if the constituents, the people that work with you, your staff, colleagues, etc., are also not going along for the journey, if they're not retrained. So for instance, if, to use some of Archie's examples earlier on, if colleagues in my bank are well averse at how to do clearing and what they know how to manage is check and processing checks, and then we take the checks out, but we don't retrain them to be able to use real-time instant pay, then there's a gap there. So that transformation process in itself requires education, awareness, and retraining, reskilling of the populace, and I think that's part of what we need to look at.
Okay, Irabena, there's been a lot of references to where Ghana and the work that you're doing, so I want you to tie most of the things that we've discussed in and also share challenges that you face when you really have to fulfill orders in other parts of the world. I'm sure there are some loopholes with the cashless economy as it stands now in Ghana that we can fix, so please let us know some of your experiences.
Okay, so thanks. First would be the charges. When for us as Where Ghana, I would say that because right from the start we've been selling online through social media and also more recently through our website, we've had this situation where for the most part for our customers in Ghana, maybe about 70% of the payments we receive, it comes through mobile money. But the big conversation is around the charges. And as a business, you would, for example, have an MTN merchant account, which takes care of the charges that a customer would have to bear. But if you looked at it that way, then it would mean that you'd have to have multiple accounts with the various networks. You talk about interoperability, it comes with even steeper charges. And this leads us to other players in the space, like a solution that we use, iPay. And there again, the charges conversation comes back again. In the past, people would, if I wanted to buy something or let's turn it around, if I wanted to buy a dress from Where Ghana, she'd probably just load her wallet, make the transaction, and that's it. So maybe she's paying 100 cedis, she loads 100 cedis, and that's it. Now it has become, mobile wallets have become a store of money. So we don't just load our wallets and use them to pay, we are keeping monies there. I think it'll be a great time for us to talk about the charges, maybe even waive it, because like we have discussed, it's important to incentivize, especially the informal economy, to have a reason, which is better than carrying cash. If there are no charges, I think that a lot more people will use the solutions that are currently available. Another challenge that we have is the time lapse between a failed transaction and when it can be resolved. And in this case, it exposes a business like mine to credit risk. So someone has made a payment, on their end, they see that there's been a debit. On our end, we haven't received credit, and now there's an uncomfortable conversation going on. Should I let the customer have the product before I receive value? And there's a big time gap between when these kinds of issues are resolved, and they expose businesses like us to credit risk. Also, for reports, so that one of the benefits of these solutions is that they make CRM easy. So we get information on our customers, because for the most part, you're entering at least the mobile number. Sometimes you're getting even email addresses and stuff like that. But when you take the typical mobile networks, how to get access to reports, it becomes a challenge. Until recently, you would have to go into the bank, into the mobile networks office, make a request for your account statement, come back with sometimes 48 hours before you are receiving whatever it is that you are asking for. I think that it will be important for us, we are going cashless, to also think around how customers, especially businesses, can pull reports on the go, so that it's a really digitized solution that we are using. There have been complaints about security. We have all heard about the mobile money scams, and some of these, I think that the players in the space need to do a lot more work than has been done to make people more comfortable keeping their monies on their wallets, because it's one thing having the solution, but if no one keeps their money there, then it doesn't really help business, because then it means that every payment must be planned and has to go through a certain type of process. It is in that case that people will run back to cash. These are some of the immediate thoughts that I would like to share. I think the other thing also has to do with, whereas it has helped in the beginning, I talked about theft, where you could have with cash situations like someone running away with your money. I had actually witnessed, because I used to work in a bank, a customer business person transferring money from their shop to the branch, and it was just about a 10-minute drive, and they lost about 30,000 cedis. So a cash-light solution is great because you don't have these types of situations occurring. But the burden that it puts on the business also is that then you have to invest in scaling up your staff's ability to track and trace transactions, because in the absence of that, that theft could just be a situation where it's moving from physical theft to theft that's happening on some of these platforms.
Thank you.
These are some of our thoughts around.
Thank you very much, Rabina. I think Archie will try and answer some of them, but as you're answering them, I want you to also tie some of the problems she mentioned to opportunities for our viewers who are looking to solve some of these problems, because we have aspiring entrepreneurs watching us and looking for loopholes in the value chain that they can also plug in, and so that we can have more of the IT consortiums in our environment.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Jifa, and thank you, Rabna. When it comes to mobile money interoperability, that's the possibility to send money from one network to another, or bank account, etc. It's at the P2P end.
Okay.
We do not have interoperability at the merchant end.
So this is person to person,
right.
not
so
person to merchant.
if you have a merchant account from mobile wallet A, you are restricted to mobile wallet A.
Okay.
If you have from mobile wallet B as a merchant account, only customers of mobile money from mobile money B can pay to you.
Okay.
That's the way we do not have interoperability at the merchant level.
When will we get to that point?
But what we have done is we have created GHQR code, and that is the solution for mobile, the merchant's interoperability. That's why I asked the question, do you have one?
Okay.
Now,
Rabina, do you have one yet?
If she had one, she would have realized that the charges for GHQR, which is the merchant interoperability, from 1 cedi to 10 cedis is free.
Wow.
For customers paying, is free irrespective of the price. For the merchant, from 1 cedi to 10 cedis is free.
Okay.
From 10 cedis upwards, it's 0.25% and is capped at 5 cedis. And the payment is made by the bank. So if the bank wishes, they can waive it for the merchant.
If a Rabina collaborates with APSA.
With APSA, for example, that's if she is with APSA.
APSA, yes.
And of
she will
course,
be
if
with
she
APSA.
has the KYC to become a bank account holder.
So no, on a serious note, we were to make this as practical as possible.
Yeah.
If I'm a merchant and I'm using the mobile money interoperability, I'll probably spend more money. But now if I use the QR code,
precisely,
I will cut down my costs.
Precisely.
And if I'm working with a bank like APSA, they may be able to even eat that payment.
They may be able to absorb that payment. So the GHQR is the merchant interoperability solution for the country.
Okay.
So if you are a merchant and you are with a bank, go to your bank and let them give you your GHQR code.
Okay.
If you are a merchant and you have a merchant mobile money account, go to them and let them give it to you. Then the Payment Advisory Bureau controls the price. Okay. But if you go to your an individual one, we are not responsible for the price.
Okay. And does this also help the micro-sized businesses as well?
It does, because if you are a micro merchant, the KYC for mobile money wallet, I think they have three. They have 3 levels. And the first level, anybody at all can have it.
Nice.
Coconut sellers, watches sellers, what that plantain, kelewele sellers, and everybody can have it. So Brookman. So you can go for that account, wallet account, and then you'll be given your GHQR code to receive money from all bank accounts and wallet accounts as well. And it's even better for you. Then I think she spoke about the.
Before you move on, I just want to.
Romeo wants to help.
Sorry, you can also go to a fintech for them.
Like,
you can also.
Romeo, tell us, how can you solve all her problems for her?
Fintech has been in this space for so long, solving this problem. So if you are working with a fintech or an aggregator, they can give you a solution that allows you to be able to collect money from any telco. And even some of them even linked bank account, bank card for you to be able to make the payment and directly move into your bank account. Okay. So that solution exists. Yes. So people, and I don't want to mention names, but we have companies who are been providing this kind of solution from the fintech perspective. So every time we are actually ahead before the regulators coming. So there are solutions from fintechs that allows you to be able to get payments from all telcos and to all telcos and to all bank accounts. Okay, so it exists.
And these are affordable solutions.
Oh, they are affordable
that
solutions.
Is true.
Yes, they are affordable solutions.
If I may.
Yes.
If I may, that is true, and we use one such solution. It is the charges.
Yes, so I was coming to the charges.
Yes, thank you, Rabina.
Yes, it's the charges I was coming to. I mean, yes, the charges needs to go down, and some of the fintech companies in their collaborations with some of the banks, I mean, sometimes I'm able to absorb it because we always say that the money sits with the bank. The float actually sits with the bank. So if I, for instance, I have maybe an online vendor account, and that online vendor account sits with Bank A, that is cheap money for the bank. Sometimes I think that with the banks, I don't want to, but the bank needs to understand these things.
No,
and that is
what's with the bank?
No, I mean the charges. I just want to help Abna here because a fintech runs on money, and we runs on the commissions. Okay, as we work with GIPS and we work with the banks, they're able to reduce that. Then if the bank takes it as they look at it as float, then the bank can easily absorb some of these charges. But you see, when you look at sometimes what we don't realize, and maybe just from Abnai's perspective, if you had a cashier sitting there collecting cash, you pay the cashier. You pay insurance for covering the cash in transit. You will pay when the cashier goes to the hospital, you will pay. As a business person, you can't run away from that. Now you remove that cashier to do something else. And then you have a system that allows you to be able to receive this. And the charge is actually reduced. What you are doing is actually reducing your cost. And so if you add a transactional fee, if you go out and you use a credit card, okay, you pay for it. Sometimes the banks absorb the charges by the exchange rate, which normally they won't say it. Okay, so if I make a payment and I use $10, and the $10 is maybe 5.7, and then they pay me 5.4, what it means is that I'm paying the commission, but I don't feel it.
Yeah.
So we've been discussing with Central Bank and GIPS that the merchant should absorb as part of their operational cost, because there is no business that doesn't have operational cost. So as we reduce the charges, and it's understandable that the merchant can absorb a bit of it, and the banks absorb, and maybe the fintechs also absorb something, then we incentivize the payer. Those days that I used to fight with Archie a lot was every
this is probably the most I've seen three players get along in this manner, because usually the fintechs don't like the bank, and
every place
is
really
really
nice. Archie, if you print card, I speak to him directly, maybe to Central Bank. If you print cards, you spend money, right? If you move cars, you move cash, you spend money. Species, you spend money. You take insurance cover, you spend money. You take the police escort, you spend money. Then we come in with electronic payment. Why don't you incentivize even the regulated space with some fees? And they've started doing it. And so because of that, indirectly, the charges that Abna is talking about then gets reduced. But it cannot be zero. Otherwise, then the technology will not work, because technology, everybody will say, it's expensive. What Archie is doing, Bank of Ghana is doing, is a lot of money investment.
Yeah.
Okay? There is no free lunch anywhere. So yes, we will want to push the commissions down, but we need to recognize as business people that once I'm doing business, there is an operational cost. And once I look at it as an operational cost, then it is not like, an extra cost for me, but it is part of how I determine my profit, and then I cut things down a bit. So I agree.
Thank you very much, Romeo. We're going to go for a quick break. I know Archie wants to say something, but we have some messages from our viewers. I've been asking them to send messages with the hashtag Citi Business Festival, and also the WhatsApp line 0550585832. I've received some messages here. So I'll read them. Each of you will pick the one that applies to you. When we come back, you answer them. So Kwabena from Dowenya says, Jifa, I have one question for the panel, in particular, Mr. Hesse. How and who fixed the atrocious 2% in and out of the MTN mobile transfer charge? What I call the MTN tax. So that's the one question there. The next question, I think, is for Augustine. So Augustine, how does the Vice President intend to sensitize Ghanaians on the cashless society that he dreams of? Even many educated Ghanaians are still not comfortable with the digital payment system. So that's for Mr. Hesse can also answer that question. Good morning, Jif. I'm really enjoying and learning a lot from the Citi Business Festival. Thank you so much. How do I get the QR code? This is coming from Inusa in Tamale. So Inusa will get you all the information. Jifa, I want to know if there's a way to reverse payments made to the wrong account using the digital platforms. So a lot of questions here for Mr. Hesse. When we come back, he'll answer all of them. If you've not sent in your questions yet, please use the hashtag Citi Business Festival for us to hear from you. Our WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. There's a massive digital world out there. We need to ensure that Ghanaians and Ghanaian businesses are not just consumers of that world, but we are creators. That's the only way that we can get ahead. 60% of our population is still below the age of 25. All these people are online. If you're a business owner, you can't get ahead without using services like the ones that IT Consortium provides. We need to ensure that the experiences we have on our front end for our customers are just as great as the back end when they go in to finally check out, when they are getting our services and our products. And of course, if you're a person like me, a student, a business person, and you want to make your life easier, Absa's digital payment has made it easy for you to bank online. So if you need to move money to someone with just a click of a button, you can do that. If you need to shop online, you can do that as well. They've worked really hard to ensure that the entire banking experience, we are able to do it with ease. And that's Africanacity, that's Absa. We'll be right back.
helping people find a way to get things done. We call this Africanacity.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back. It's the Citi Business Festival. This week is our Digital Economy Week, and we're starting with the cashless society, opportunities for business and job creation. We have Bank of Ghana here in the person of Mr. Archie Hesse. He's telling us all the innovations that they've been bringing out to ensure that we create that infrastructure for businesses to thrive. We also have Mr. Ebo Richardson from APSA here to tell us all that the banks are doing to ensure that once we go out there to acquire our customers, once we go out there to retain those customers, they have all the other things sorted out. We don't have to worry about it. When we move money from our banks to their banks, it's secured. And of course, IT Consortium is here for all the entrepreneurs out there, all the business owners who don't really understand what's happening in the online world and as a result are losing out on millions of cedis. They will come take care of all those things for you. So if you have a product or a service and someone is curious about it, they don't just leave your platform after they see it. They are actually motivated to click on that buy button. You're able to take the money from the account and put it in your account and grow your business. We still want to hear from you, so please use the hashtag breakfastdaily. Oh, see, old habits die hard. The hashtag is Citi Business Festival, and our WhatsApp line is 0550585832. We want to hear from you. There are messages here as well for Irabina and Hannah, who are online with us. They've joined us via Zoom. Irabina is the CEO of Ware Ghana, and of course, Hannah Kwashi is with Wave Africa. And we have a surprise guest from the Office of the Vice President, Augustine Blay. Quick question here for Hannah. Jifa, can I please ask Hannah to comment on the cashless Africa in an era of the African Continental Free Trade Area? How do we integrate digital payments on the continent and make it easy to move funds? So Hannah will answer that question, and then maybe Archie can add on to that as well. In addition to the charges, in the case of international payments, who determines the exchange rates? So that's another question there. So before the break, there were a lot of questions for Archie. So Archie, please, if you can answer some of them and clear up the person who mentioned the 2% from MTN, for instance.
Yeah, so far as I'm concerned, I'm not aware of any 2% from that from MTN.
Okay.
So it's something that I'm not sure if my colleagues, it's not something that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that the person would have to go back and then look into it. Then there was a question on chargeback.
Yeah.
One of the things that we face in the payment system space is that when payments are made, the first thing anybody thinks of is gifts. Now, someone might be using an international scheme card to make payments. It has nothing to do with gifts.
Okay.
It's gifts. So if any payment doesn't go well, it's gifts. So far as we are concerned, we are primarily focusing on domestic payments, as I said. And I don't know of any chargeback between banks, wallets, mobile wallet companies within Ghana that has taken more than 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole essence of having the domestic, we having control over the domestic space. It gives us the opportunity to control things like chargeback, reduce the time between when issues are resolved, particularly when it comes to cost. We control cost. there's been a number of instances when individuals have complained about the cost of transacting even at the point of sale. But when you go there, they are using an international scheme card. We don't control those cards. Okay. We control the payment instruments that we have developed within our ecosystem. As a company, as a country, we have a national switch. And the principle behind the national switch is to create synergies that we can all share. In the past, as Romeo said, the processes that they had to go through to effect payments was very cumbersome. Yeah. Cumbersome means it's expensive. Now, all they have to do is come through gifts. The prices have been reduced. It's just a question of time that the various fintechs, etc., and the banks and all the players will start reducing the cost. Sometime 2-3 a month ago, we reduced changed the pricing structure for real-time payments. And immediately, all the fintechs reacted. They also reduced theirs. I believe that it's a volume game. Maybe in 6 months' time, the volumes will increase. We would all have covered our fixed cost, and we will further reduce it again. So it's a journey, and we are on the right track. So I would bear with businesses that it's important to make sure that you are well informed, such that if you do not have any of the domestic payment instruments, you have them. Okay. If you have international customers as well, know that this is the payment platform I'm using for my international customers and the other for domestic. At the end of the day, 80% plus of your customers are domestic customers. Yeah. So focus on the domestics and leave the international schemes alone.
Until Gibbs comes up with the innovations for us to take care of that market.
Well, you can work with them for international transactions. So you are basically using the correct tools for applying, using them appropriately. You give unto Caesar.
When it comes to the international
fintechs are there. Speaking of fintech.
I think just to add to Archie, I think it's also a function of innovation, right? You know, as Archie said, a lot of money has been invested in huge infrastructure across the country. Yeah. Those who invested need to feel like at least there's some payback, or they break even at least. So that's where some charges come in. But as the platform has been developed and the framework has been developed, and we start to innovate, in addition to volumes, those innovations will democratize the space, and you will see prices go down even more.
We are optimistic. Hannah, if you're still with us, can you please answer the question about just the digital ecosystem and the cashless space in Africa, and what more we need to do to make that better?
Okay. In Africa, different countries are at different levels of development and infrastructure when it comes to payments. So what we find is that where Ghana is may not necessarily be where another country is, and I don't want to say which countries. That is why focus for us has been on building building on the infrastructure in various countries to make it easier. Last month in April, we launched our first cross-border transfer with Wave Wallet between Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. And we found that because we had built the infrastructure independently in these two countries, it was easy for us, for consumers in the two countries to do trade and to pay for services and goods amongst each other. What is significant is that those two countries use the same currency. So they all use ZOF or CFA or ZOF, as people call it. So we have only, it's just the tip of the iceberg. When you get into different currencies, then we have a problem. At the moment, the African Free Trade Agreement makes it easier to work around some of these complexities because of the various different countries that run across Africa. Because we tend to always settle to the dollar, which means if I'm in Ghana and I'm making a payment in Nigeria, my cedi is converted to dollars, then the dollar is converted to naira before the transaction actually settles. And these are some of the complexities that we are looking to remove, and to also to lower the cost. Because once you do those two transactions to dollar before settlement, then there's a lot of cost involved. So we work hand in hand with our partner banks to bring the cost down, and we try and absorb some of the technological costs because we build our own technology. So for me, that's the short answer to the complex question.
We still have the Secretary to the Vice President with us, and I want to ask you, when you look at what other people are doing on the continent right now, especially some of the fintechs, the younger ones, it looks as though they're getting the attention that some international investors looking to invest in Africa are looking for. From the perspective of the Vice President's office, what work have you been doing to really help Ghanaian businesses get the attention that they need and the investments they need to get ahead?
Sure. I think I want to contribute to the GHQR code conversation that Archie and others mentioned. I think the enabling environment starts by first identifying problems, breaking them down, and solving them. If you look at where we started and where we are now, taking conducting transactions using the mobile money, for example, will lead to about 40, not less than 40 clicks. Click here, click there, click here, click there. As Hannah said, it's not convenient, it's not fast. So the GHQR code provided an opportunity where you snap, then you enter your information, it gets approved. So you move from about 40 clicks to about 3 clicks. It makes it more convenient and secure using the same GIPS platform. There's a question about how will the Vice President go about getting the country aware about this financial inclusion framework that we've been talking about. We must first understand that at the center of this fintech or digital currency revolution is identity. Right. Once the identity is established, we mentioned fraud, we mentioned lack of transparency, and all of these things are challenges and problems that are in the sector. But identity, right, establishing the identity of the originator or recipient of the transaction is key. So as you can see in Ghana, you know that we spent the past 3 years registering about 16 million Ghanaians on the NIA card. With that registration, there's an ongoing or impending pending registration where we're going to have all the SIM card owners, SIM card owners, every SIM card, every phone number will have to link that SIM card to your NIA number. And that goes to ensure that the identity of the originator of the transaction and the recipient of the transaction is established. That exercise will create massive awareness in the country about the financial inclusion policy of the government. So with mobile money interoperability, with GHQR code, with now the awareness about linking your Ghana card to your SIM number, it creates that secured environment for transaction to occur. But the government goes beyond that. We are now talking about the Ghana.gov platform, where going forward, at a certain point, the Vice President and the President will launch this program, which is every government transaction for the P2G that Hannah talked about, every government transaction will have to be done through a digital channel, no more cash transactions. So then the public will now get used to now making sure they have their wallet loaded, making sure they have their conduct transaction using the digital channels and growing that space. And I'm sure Gibbs will be happy for it.
So Augustine, I still have one last question for you. I don't want to cut you off. And I'll be hearing from our viewers on Zoom soon. I see Sugar, I see Roger Kranting, I see Evelyn Aqua. Will you turn your things on, your videos on, and ask your questions for us as well? But Augustine, there's this notion that government is doing a really great job at, going digital when it comes to our taxes, but then even tolls, something like collecting tolls, we've not been able to do that in a digital way. A very good friend of mine, Paco, uses the bathroom every morning and he has to pay. And the person there at that public facility has to take the money and it's not very clean. How do we apply it at that stage as well? If we're going digital, we have to go digital across the board. How do we do that?
I think it's a great question, but there's a maturity process, right? You cannot just do it at once. You must first establish the foundational element, which is what the government have done for the past 4 years. The pillars that requires for the whole country to have the identity established, to have the address established, to have their bank banking record established through the mobile money interoperability. The extent where every person that has a phone number now has a bank account. So when you have these pillars established, the rest now is to build the solutions on top of it, and that will scale, right? So we are talking about how do we digitize the toll collection. Well, if all of us do not have a mobile money wallet, if all of us do not have a secure identity, then it will be difficult to be fair and across the country as a government establishing policy. So the pillars have to be in place, and we've done just that. The rest now is building the solution on top of the pillars. And I cannot get away from the opportunities that the digital currency or digital transformation effort of government is creating for many businesses. And we have now talked about, reporting. They need reporting, they need to have visibility into the transactions that are occurring. It takes them a long time. Well, if anyone is listening, that's right there an opportunity, right? As we talk about QR code, when a lot of the citizens, the micro businesswomen and micro businessmen begin to use a QR code to conduct transactions, there's a huge opportunity for visibility into these transactions. This is an area that our tech giants or small tech companies can begin to provide solution in that area, working with GIBS and the fintech companies. So yes, the opportunity exists. The private sector has done a great job partnering with government to create these pillars that have been established. Now the private sector must partner with government to provide this solution that Jifa, you mentioned about. It's not only on the toll. It's not only on the toll. There's also, I talk about the trotro, right? The trotro mate and the driver, the trotro owner. There is this opportunity about how do you pay a property tax? How do you then pay for a school, as Romeo was talking about. So as far as government is concerned, the pillars are in place. Now let's fly. Okay. Let's build the management system to make life easier for our citizens. And Ghana.gov, from the government perspective, is the beginning.
Thank you very much, Augustine. Ebo, I have to bring you in here because we've done a lot of talking. We focused a lot on the micro side, on the businesses and opportunities for people looking to, gain employment. But on a macro level, we're still suffering from corruption as a nation. We still have leakages in the system that cost us billions of dollars each year. How transformational is it if we're able to succeed in this cashless society for the nation to develop, if we're really able to adapt this to our everyday lives?
So I think, Jifa, earlier on I mentioned a couple of things when we started, and I said that for me, one of the key things around cashless or cash light is the formalization element. And you've heard, aspects of it being alluded to throughout the entire conversation. Once the formalization is achieved, it brings about a digital trail. And that digital trail essentially means that there's transparency, there's visibility of transactions. If you look at Bitcoin and the whole crypto movement, one of the reasons it gained that sort of massive appeal is because there was a sense of transparency. No one person owns and controls this, so that there's a truth element to it. And I think that in a roundabout way, the cash light movement brings about those sort of things as well. And once you can achieve that and there's visibility, you may not prevent fraud and corruption 100%, but you will certainly be able to track it and take some actions in respect of it. And once there is the political will to do those things and to take those actions, you will see over time a reduction in some of those practices, which will then also improve the confidence that we have in the movement and in the platforms. And to borrow Mr. Blaze's words, then we can fly.
Romeo, I want you to talk to all the aspiring fintechs out there. It's refreshing to see someone be in the space for the past 20 years and excel the way that you have. There's a lot of pressure right now when you see other people at unicorn status, people being bought out for millions of dollars. You get to lose the essence of growing organically. How important is it for the fintechs who are listening to us and watching us to take that organic growth path?
Yeah, thank you very much. I get excited when I hear that a company has raised 1 million, 10 million, 1 point something billion, it's good and it's good. I mean, if we can do that. But I think that people should be very careful when they go for money. You cannot just jump into these things when you haven't done your homework very well. I was reading an article and it said that you should be the one looking for the investment and shy away from investors pursuing you. Sometimes investors see something that you are doing and they have their own agenda. But when you are ready and you grow organically, you grow your processes, you are able to understand what you are doing, then when you speak about it and you have your program to expand, then you can attract the money that you require to be able to expand. There are people who go for money and at the end of the day, they crash. Why? Because the internal process, even though they will say that, oh, when I went through it, it was rigorous, and those are people, because those are potential. You have not really tried it. Okay, when you go to Silicon Valley, a lot of the startups fail. They throw a lot of money. They have money. They throw a lot of money, angel money, to people. It fails. Sometimes one pops up. But there are a lot of companies also that have grown organically. And so I believe that a young person starting, it is good to put your head down and do the hard work and grow to a point before you think about some of these things. Because from our experience, we realize that people, I like what you said, that we are not just consumers but producers. If I bring you my money, you produce what I want. But if you work hard and grow organically for a while, you produce what you want. Yeah. And we want to be producers of technology in this country. I always say that we want Ghana to be a global brand. We want solutions from here to go out. So anytime I've traveled with maybe GIPC, and they are asking also, what can we do with you? I said, what can I do with you? Yes, when I meet the investor, I say, what can I do with you? I can take the money and do something in your country because I have the technology that can allow me to be able to solve this problem. Are you willing? They are not. They want to bring the money, and most of the time, the money actually doesn't come here. Yeah. It will go to the the consultants from their end, and then you still continue to do the
Romeo, you're really passionate about this, so I'll bring you back on Breakfast Daily for us to continue this conversation. But Archie, you've done so much great work for the past 14 years creating the infrastructure. The continent's digital economy will reach $300 billion in just a few years. How do we incentivize innovators enough to ensure that African business owners are leading this technology innovation?
I think when it comes to payments within Africa, we can divide it into two main areas: the retail and the wholesale. The retail is where you make minor purchases either at the retail level, paying for your hotel bills or buying minor things within the continent. And the wholesale is when you are actually trading within the African countries. When it comes to the retail, that is the responsibility of the national switches within the respective countries. If they don't have one, then the central banks within the country we need to work amongst us to make that a reality. I spoke about the GH-Link card, that we want all Ghanaians to be able to use it within the continent. ABSA is here. ABSA has a GH-Link card. ABSA is present in how many countries in Africa? 13. So we can work with ABSA such that you and I travel to South Africa. I believe ABSA is there. We'll be able to use our GH-Link card. We don't have to do that much.
Very much. We've unfortunately run out of time. And Romeo for being with us, Ebo from ABSA for being with us. And you see, your alarm is going off. Hannah from Wave Africa, and Rabina from Where Ghana, and of course, Augustine from the Office of the Vice President, and all of you at home for joining us. It's the Citi Business Festival. My name is Jifa Ekuya Ametam. It's been my absolute pleasure being with you, and we'll see you again. Please keep watching Citi TV. Goodbye.